Hey, everybody, it's Dave and Kurt from the Dart Media Group. Welcome to episode 3 of Spartan Heads. And thanks for sticking with us as we continue to improve our programming. Dave has been working hard to get our audio upgraded, as well as taking our Spartan Heads to Apple Podcast and other podcast platforms. We'll be adding in more pictures and videos with our interviews.
On tonight's episode of Spartan Heads, we interview Southwestern Volleyball coach Caleb Tennell, and we hear how he became a Spartan. We will celebrate his 2020 seniors, and we'll find out more about Caleb, like how did he get interested in volleyball? When did he decide that he wanted to come back to Southwestern and be a part of the program, let alone become the varsity head coach at the age of 19 years old and a full-time college student?
It's really incredible, isn't it, Dave? Just fantastic stuff. All right, so folks, tonight on Spartan Heads, we've got girls varsity volleyball coach Caleb Tennell in the house with us tonight. Caleb, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited.
Hey, really appreciate you taking the time. So for folks that don't know, Caleb, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been a Spartan my entire life before I was born. Kindergarten through 12th grade, Southwestern. I grew up in around Marietta in the Shelby County area on Sugar Creek. My dad's a farmer, long line of farmers there. So I grew up on a farm. My mom's a nurse. So grew up in Shelby County, went to Southwestern all 13 years, I guess. I am currently in my final steps of becoming an elementary school teacher, where I hope to come back to Southwestern and teach. And
Caleb, where are you going to college now?
I go to college online. It's called Western Governors University. I spent my first 2 years at Franklin College, loved it, loved everything about it, but there was always somewhere else I wanted to be. And I really wanted to be in the classroom, and I really wanted to be working and making money and just getting started. I just felt like I was kind of caught in life there for a second, just kind of trapped. And I felt like if I could go to school and work and coach all at the same time and get it done even quicker than normal, why not?
So what I hear you saying is this whole school thing kind of got in the way of me wanting to be a coach, and I had to figure a way to do it both.
Yeah, that's
and he
a
did.
big part of it for sure.
And you did. That's the awesome part.
So, and you're a 2017 Southwestern graduate, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And so, when and where did you start getting your interest in volleyball?
I've been around volleyball most of my life. I had cousins. Waldron's head coach, Whitney Moore, she's quite a bit older than me, so I remember going to watch her play. She played at Shelbyville High School and then played at Franklin College, played volleyball. And then my sister, Casey, she started playing volleyball in 7th grade, so I would have been a 5th grader at the time. And lots of weekends we would spend in the gym playing club ball, just watching from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. all day watching volleyball. And I never once complained about it because I loved it. I loved going and loved watching. And so I can remember when my sister was playing in 7th grade, I can remember Vicky Beach was her coach. I can remember being like, wow, she's awesome. I really like her. Like, this is awesome. And I would just pick up the ball and play and go outside and play on my roof. My dad probably got mad at me for breaking a couple of gutters, but that's okay. In hindsight, it's probably fine. But yeah, just got to working with it then. And then when I got into 8th grade, I was like, I'd really like to give this a try. Like, I want to play myself. And unfortunately, where we live, there's not really many options for boys to play volleyball. Specifically where we're from, there aren't many options. Until you get into high school, you can play like at Franklin Community High School, Columbus North, Columbus East. They have programs. But where we were at, for a junior high kid to play volleyball, it was very hard. So I had to go to Indianapolis and play club, and I played for a season at South Indy Club in Indianapolis. It was awesome. My coach, she was a volleyball player at the University of Indianapolis. Her name was Christina Kerrigan. Her brother actually is a professional football player. Fun fact, cool. But yeah, I played for one season up there at South Indy Club, and there's kids that I played with on that team that are playing collegiately now, which is so strange because back then we were all just learning. We were all like, I'd like to give this a try. Like, let's try it. We were all had no idea what we were doing, had never had any like true coaching before. So it's just so cool to see all these kids playing, not kids, but all these guys that I played with playing collegiately now. I'm like, I was playing with them at one point. Like, just makes me think what could have been had I stuck with it. But looking back, I don't regret not playing because of all the memories I got to make by watching school history be made. And that's,
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the interesting things, though, Caleb, and I mean this most sincerely, is the only way you can not have a regret about not continuing to play is the fact that you were bold enough to play in the first place.
Yeah.
So,
And I think what's really cool is it's not like you just gave up and missed out on something, but look at the goals that you set for yourself, and you're chasing your own dream as being the head varsity coach. So that's got to be pretty cool.
Absolutely, it is. And I started wanting to coach when I was in freshman year of high school. I knew that's something I wanted to do, and I remember my senior year of high school telling our athletic director, Mr. Day, is like, hey, once I graduate next year, I would really like to start coaching. I would really like to get into this and see what happens. And sure enough, after I graduated, there was an opening for junior high, and I was like, absolutely, let's do it. I want to do it. We had a blast, and it was amazing. It's got me hooked for sure.
That's awesome.
It's a noble adventure for sure. And so you applied for early. Let's see, it would have been about this time last year, right? Yeah, it would have been almost March. I think last year is when I believe the notification came out. You reached out to the athletic director, Mr. Days. He said, "Go ahead and apply," and you got the nod. And so the big thing of wanting to be a varsity coach happened for you at what? Were you 20 yet?
I was not. I turned 20 shortly after. Yeah. So I was 19 when I applied for a varsity position.
Well, and I'll tell you though, Caleb, you should think about this in a different way. That the folks that knew you and have seen you knew full well that why wait to 22 when there's a guy that can do it at 19. And so kudos to you for being that mature at such a young age to be driven to Dave's point, to set a goal and go reach for it. You're going to be a new varsity coach, and so you've got a lot on your plate. So tell us a little bit about your first season.
So I just wanted to get started right away. Once I found out, like, hey, you can do it, like, you're it. Okay, got to get started. So playing a bunch of spring stuff and summer stuff, and I had a blast with that because it's something you just get to create. You get to, and I love being able to create. I love being able to think about, like, how can this work? What do I have to do? So we got summer league set up, summer camp set up, open gyms, a whole summer schedule. Went through that, and I knew that the first season was going to be a little bit of a rebuilding season, but I knew that it would be more than that because of all the pieces that were coming back, of all the pieces that were being added to our program, and I knew that it could be more than that. And I was never satisfied with rebuilding.
Just calling it. You didn't want to just call it a rebuild year because there was more potential than that.
Absolutely.
So when you identified after summer camp and you getting ready to go towards August, there's somewhere on a Post-it note probably or a notebook where Caleb wrote down his goals for the year. And one of those, like, there's always going to be the develop as a leader, develop the assistants, develop the freshmen and all those kind of great things. But I'm pretty sure there were probably 4 sets of numbers with a dash in the middle of that with how many wins I'm looking to get, where I think we're going to be at losses. So we don't need to necessarily get into that number specifically, but when you think about your first year as a head coach, you ended up the season with a pretty good record.
Yes, sir. 15-16, 1 win shy of being over 500, but that's better than I could have anticipated for a first season. Better than I could have anticipated, because when any new coach comes in, you're getting used to everything new. I was getting used to new things. All the girls were getting used to new things. Everyone was getting used to something new. And that's never that's never easy. I mean, that's never easy to adapt and play through that. But it went better than I could have imagined. 15 wins, I'll take that. Absolutely.
No, that's great. That's great. So when you think about this past season, a couple more questions about it, and then we'll talk about seniors. What was your biggest surprise that you had, whether it's a place, a person, an event? What's the biggest surprise that you had this past season?
The first thing that came to my mind was when we played the eventual state runner-up at Trinity Lutheran. We go into that match, and Trinity Lutheran has a fantastic program, year in, year out, fantastic program. And the girls know that. They know going into that this is going to be a tough match. Given their history, they have an excellent coach. So we go into that match.
They've got a 6 foot, 3-inch middle hitter that's dominant in 2 sports and going to be all state in 2 sports. And by the way, she's not their best player.
Yeah. So going into that, it's easy to be scared. It's easy to just roll over and give up. But that was probably the best match that our girls played all season, and played them very close for a large majority of that match. So looking back on it, I remember walking into the locker room after that match and saying, ladies, do you understand how good this team is? What their potential is? And sure enough, they go to the state championship later on in that season, and just to know that this group of girls played so well against them, that should prove how close they can be if they actually believe in themselves, and that really did help them. That helped them see the potential that they have in themselves, and just looking back on it, that was fantastic to see. Even though we lost the match, we lost 0-3 the match, but it was closer than an 0-3 loss, and we learned a lot from it, and it was great. And looking back on it, that's the highlight that comes to my head when I think of one thing from that season.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what you were saying, Caleb, is you saw the potential in the girls, right? And it wasn't until moments like that when they actually got to see the potential in themselves.
Yes.
So,
I remember that game. I remember it was, I'm going to get it wrong. Dave, was it the second game? It might have been, they were up maybe 13-9. It was about ready to go into one of those 4-point spots. And then it happened, Dave. There was a Coach Tennell timeout.
Yeah.
And I think it was 13-9, and the next thing you know, it's tied at 13. Their coach calls a timeout. And it's just, we went to commercial, Caleb, and I kind of nudged Dave. I'm like, you watch this. A Trinity Lutheran coach is going to tear into her girls. And that's exactly what happened, because you and your girls were just giving them everything they could take.
And I just have chills right now thinking about that, because you're 13-13 with a state runner-up team. Like, that's amazing.
And Coach, we saw that all year long, and we talked about it on our broadcast a lot, how we'd say, hey, there's a Coach Tennell timeout coming, and you always had great execution coming out of timeouts all season long. So we thought you did a fantastic job using your timeouts, not leaving them in your pockets, and we were really, really impressed with just I don't know if it was the intensity, the focus, or what, but out of timeouts, the team was just amazing.
They were, and they responded so well. There's a video clip that I watched not too long ago. It was while we were still in school. I was watching film, and there was a time that it was on film. I looked at the girls and said something. All 6 heads looked at me all 6 heads nodded and then turned back. And I was like, what? Like, they're listening to everything that I'm telling them. And I can't ask for anything more than that.
So, Caleb, let's talk a little bit about your 2020 seniors that you had.
Yes. So I had 2, Emma Engel and Haley Jones. And I've said from the beginning, before I even got this job, my first group of seniors will always have a special place in my mind, in my heart, in my life. They'll always, because they're the first senior group that I had. And I remember walking through the hallways while we were still in school and just seeing them being like, that's my first senior class. Like, that's awesome. Like, that's the first group of seniors I got to coach, and they were extraordinary people, extraordinary players, and just a great experience to have for my first year coaching. And there was only 2 of them, so it made it even more special that there could be a little more focus on my seniors, my first season, and it was great.
It's great. It's great. So Haley Jones was a setter that came in and really, honestly, filled a gap for you early in the season and provided some great senior leadership.
She did. And when I first heard that Haley was going to be a Spartan, I was like, okay, she's a setter. And I talked to her old coach from Edinburgh. I was like, whoa, a setter? She's like, yeah, a setter. It's like, we just lost a setter. How cool is this? How lucky is this? So, and that's what I needed, this team. And when I said this was going to be a bit of a rebuilding season, I don't necessarily mean talent. I mean, we lost a lot of talent from the year before, but what we lost was leadership. We lost a setter, 2 of the best outside hitters Southwestern's ever had, 3 more supporting seniors that were leaders. That's what I needed. I needed experience. I needed leadership. That's what Haley was going to bring, along with her setting, along with her position. She was going to bring leadership because she had been through this. So it was great to add her to our program because she knew how to direct the traffic. That's exactly what I needed. She knew how to run our team, and that was amazing to be able to be blessed with that leadership, her ability from the time she stepped in the gym.
That's great. And so, it's one of those hidden things that you may not know as a, coming into your first season, that you're going to be given an opportunity to fill a hole offensively, right? With such a key talent, which has got to be great. And so you got Haley on one side setting the ball up, and then you got your big swinging right-hander, Emma Engel, your other senior.
Yeah. Emma, she's been around this program since 7th grade. She's been a Spartan volleyball player longer than any of our girls, and that was something great to have in my first season as well. Someone who's been there since the beginning, someone who knows how to go through this and knows how to adapt, and that's exactly what she did. She adapted and always worked so hard. She always was looking to get better, always looking to improve, always asking, what can I do differently? Hey, can I stay after? Hey, coach, look at this. And as a coach, there's nothing more that I can ask for than a player saying, hey, coach, look at this. Or, hey, coach, what about this? Hey, coach, how can I get better? And that was always Emma. She was always so competitive, so gritty. She wanted it so much. And that's something that personally I look for in an athlete, the grit, the want. And Emma naturally had that. Not to mention her power. As a hitter, she can hit a ball. And that's awesome, because if you can hit a ball, we can work with everything else, and she had all of it.
And when you're gritty like that, it's a good combination, especially for a senior to have the underclassmen looking up to those 2 seniors. Really is a benefit for you as a coach. It kind of lets you coach through them and let them lead. So no, that's a great couple of kids, and obviously their senior year is well behind them now from a volleyball standpoint. But good luck to those kids as they move on. So next up, Spartan fans, we continue to hear more Spartan history from Dave Covington, the voice of the Spartans, in a segment we call Histories and Legends. As the voice, continues to share his thoughts on the best boys Spartan basketball players from the 1970s.
Got it. The Bossy! Got it. Kerber to Tittle. Count it. Pull up my Hartzell. Got it. Lucas for three. Got another one. To Christian DeArmond for two. To the corner for KVG3. He got it.
Well, obviously Rick Palmer, he was another Hall of Fame inductee, the first 1,000-point scorer in Southwestern history. With his 84-62 loss at Columbus North in '79, he finished his career with 1,077 points, and we still occasionally see him when he referees some of the games at Southwestern. And my second place, I'm going to go with 5-1. I didn't do that. I went with number one off the bat. But
all right. What about number two, Dave? What about our second?
Ron Hamilton.
Okay.
Number two was Ron Hamilton.
All right.
A teammate. He was a teammate of Rick Culver, who I picked as third. And it's self-explanatory why I picked him as third. He's a Hall of Fame inductee, and probably one of only 7 players. I don't know who the other ones were that played in 3 county championships, 74, 75, and 76. Taylor Meredith told me who they were, but I don't remember who they were now when he and I talked 10 years ago.
All right, so that's number 3. What about number 4 on your list?
Number 4 is Jerry Palmer.
Jerry Palmer also comes and referees sometimes. Some of those JV games.
Also the JV contest, yes.
So
he's more of a
why did you pick Jerry?
Do what now?
I was going to ask where does Jerry Palmer rank, and why is he 4th? Was he a better basketball player or scorer or rebounder? What comes to your mind when you think about Jerry Palmer?
It seemed like after he graduated, after him and Rick Culver graduated, the program never was the same. Anything after 1976, the well went dry for a very, very long time talent-wise until basically until Travis Kuhn, David Hamilton came along.
Got it. So Jerry was one of the last of a group that had really held the Spartan basketball team together for a while, it sounds like. So what about number 5, Dave?
I had a little trouble with number 5 because I could very easily go with Gary Muldoon, or I could have went with Travis Ney. Travis Ney was a good player, but he was more well known for starting up Bible evangelism after he graduated from high school and went to college. And he did a program at Southwestern back in the mid-1980s I went to. He was more known for the evangelist. And we already know about Gary Muldoon. He's assistant under Days, and he put some good statistics together in the early 70s. And he graduated in 73.
Great. Yeah, what kind of success in county and in the tournament did Gary and that team in 73 have?
The team in 73 only won 3 games, but they went all the way to the sectional finals. They lost to Brown County, lost to Columbus East, both in the regular season, and then turned around and knocked both of them out of sectional en route to playing Edinburgh. And, of course, Edinburgh with a 17-win squad cleaned our clock, 67-38 on that one. Most of the ones from the early 70s moved on after 72.
Yeah. So those are your top 5 from 1970. Next up, Spartan fans, we go back to December 7th and watch our JV Boys Basketball Spartans come back from being down 11 in the fourth quarter behind some great passing, terrific screens, and lights-out shooting from Jordan Jones as the Spartans get their first win of the 2019-2020 season on the road against those pesky Triton Central Tigers. All right, Coach Engel, I need to take you back. Triton. I think at one point in time in this ball game, we're down, I think, 11 points going into in the fourth quarter. We're down big. Jordan Jones has had a pretty good night defensively. He's been a great teammate, but up into the fourth quarter, up until three and a half quarters, I don't think Jordan Jones could have hit the water from the beach with a basketball. And then something special happens.
Well, I don't know if you remember this, but so JV, we lost to Edinburgh in the opening game. We lost to Morristown the second game. Triton Central was our third game of the season. And at that time, in the fourth quarter, I think Jordan, who can shoot, he can shoot the basketball. And in practice, and we do a shooting drill, and Jordan will be one of the 3 or 4 winners in it every time we do it, and he will walk by me and let me know that he still hasn't lost it. And I know he can shoot it, and probably people in the stands are like, why is this kid still shooting the ball? But he was 1 for 19 or 1 for 20 to start the year. And then he hit the shot again in the fourth quarter. He hit one. And then another. He hit a second one. And I remember you guys made the comment, one of you guys made the comment, because I watched it on Dark Media, about us running the same play over and over there toward the end, but we had to do something quick. And
they couldn't stop it.
No, they didn't.
So it's interesting you say that. So I believe it was a screen down, screen away, and then Matthew Clements came up and set a really nice high-wide screen out about 20 feet. I think Matthew got called one time maybe for sliding, but I really think Matthew knew what his job was there, was to make sure that the kid that's somehow gotten red hot, get this kid the ball, let me make sure he gets open, and let this kid keep shooting.
Right, and Jordan doesn't lack confidence in himself, and all he needed to see the ball go through the basket.
Just that one, yeah.
Did it, and he got hot. And people were complimenting. That was a lot of fun. The first 3.5 quarters were miserable for me because we weren't very good. But that then kind of jump-started him. He was phenomenal then throughout the rest of the JV season. And we had a heck of a season.
Yeah.
And where early on, I wasn't sure how we were going to be. We had a heck of a season. He was a big part of it. And then other guys grew throughout that season, including Clements. But that was a lot of fun. But yeah, that game, that was a fun couple minutes.
So I'll tell you, there was he hits the three, and then they inbound the ball. I think he steals it and gets fouled shooting a three.
That was a heady play too.
Yes.
Yes, because he knew that I don't think we were in the bonus yet. So he shot it and yeah, that was very heady, very smart. That wasn't me. That was all him.
I believe, and then I think he hits him.
Wiesner got the steal. He made the rotation, which is another pretty interesting story because he had never played organized sports before. And he was in his third game ever in an organized sport, which, he's played a lot of basketball at the Park and Rec and places, but he made the right rotation, the right read, and got the steal and got it to Jordan. And Jordan shot the ball from 25 feet, he was deep, and there was still plenty of time left. Like when he shot it, I thought, you didn't have to do that, and it went in.
Just like you drew it up, right, Coach?
We hope you enjoyed the third episode of Spartan Heads. Thanks to Coach Tennell and the voice of the Spartans, Dave Covington, for sharing his thoughts on the players of the decade on this episode.
Spartan Heads, don't forget, you can go back and watch Coach Tennell's Lady Spartan Volleyball team on our YouTube channel at Dart Media Group.
Make sure you tune in next week as we visit with Southwestern varsity soccer coach Taylor Meredith. As we look back at his season, we celebrate the 2020 soccer seniors, as well as we hear his plans for the 21 season, and more from the voice on his thoughts about the best basketball players from the 1980s.
As always, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Flat Rock Ag, Larry Moore Construction, Kokomo Grain, and Flat Rock Precision. For Dave Blondell, our executive producer, I'm Kurt Carell. Thanks for tuning in to Spartan Heads.